Greetings everyone. In this short video presentation, I will be covering the topic of spirit attachments and possession. The idea of a spirit attachment or possession is something that's been present throughout human history. In many spiritual and religious texts, this idea has been referenced and described, where people are seen as somehow being possessed by some other spirit other than the spirit that is normally inhabiting or working through that physical identity. To look further into this topic, let's first consider what a spirit is. One simple way to define or describe a spirit is to say that a spirit is a field of consciousness and energy, or energy and consciousness. Therefore, if someone was clairvoyant, they would perceive that spirit as some form of light or energy, and they might perhaps perceive a physical identity related to that consciousness. When we experience our life here as a human being, we have this psychological attachment to our physical body. So we identify with that image, with that form of identity. And therefore the consciousness of that spirit, while it's having that incarnation, perceives itself as though it's that form, even though ultimately it's not a physical form, it's that field of energy and consciousness. Since energy doesn't really have boundaries, since consciousness exists not confined to time and space, but in a timeless field, our identity here as a human being is somewhat of an illusion, and we are not as separate from the world around us or from other individuals or other beings as we might imagine ourselves to be. And if we look at things more on that energetic and spiritual level, we could see how plausible and how easy it might be for other spirits, other forms of energy and consciousness, to start to attach to us or influence us while we're in this physical persona. There's a wide range or continuum of phenomena related to spirit attachment and possession. At one end of that continuum, you might say that there are different energies, different thought forms, different patterns that exist in the environment around us that we might start to tune into, to go into resonance with and have starting to influence us. This could be the people around you in your family, in your school or workplace, among your circle of friends, and so on. So any social environment could provide that type of influence, that type of energy and consciousness that we're tuning into, that in some way we're having an attachment with, and letting that consciousness start to imprint us or influence us. The other end of this continuum of attachment and possession phenomena is what is often dramatized in TV shows and movies, where you see a person who appears to be completely possessed by some really dramatic type of being. Often they show it as something that is very dark or evil, something that is harmful or destructive. However, it's not necessarily that negative form. They're also what people might look at as a positive form of possession, where a person is channeling in some very high frequency or high vibrational type of being or consciousness is communicating through them, is in some sense using their body to do that communication, while the person's ordinary consciousness is somewhat asleep or detached. And of course, there are many variations between those ends of the continuum, between those extremes. When we have a very strong and solid aura or energy field, we are less open and vulnerable to other beings, to other spiritual entities or energies starting to attach to us or influence us. If you think about a child, a being here in this physical personality or human personality that has not developed itself that fully yet, that has not matured into a very strong identity in the human experience, you'll see how that child is easily influenced by its parents and other people around it. So as children, we tend to be very attached to our parents, and since we're attached to them, we naturally take on their ideas, their beliefs, their feelings and emotions, so they are having a strong influence upon us. People don't usually look at that as if it were a form of spirit attachment or possession, but it is a form of spiritual and energetic influence. Now, if a child goes through significant stress or trauma, that may leave that individual less whole and even more vulnerable and more prone to have other external entities attached to its energy and influence that individual. An extreme form of this would be multiple personality states or disorders, where a person's primary personality is so traumatized that it sort of detaches, it separates itself from the body and allows other personalities, other entities or energies to, in a sense, take over that body to respond and react to this environment that it's encountering. One common issue that is related to entities attaching or possessing a person would be substance abuse or drug use. Many types of drugs that people use have the effect of causing them to sort of detach from their body, to become ungrounded, and to have the aura in some way weakened or less fully present with that physical body. When this happens, other entities, other spirits have more of an opportunity to attach to that person and start to influence them. Also, when a person has addictions, when they have some very low vibrational emotions that are active, fear, grief, anger, resentment, greed, jealousy, etc., that will tend to attract like energies. So if there are spirits that are hovering, hanging around at the lower level of the spiritual plane, the lower astral plane, then those entities might be drawn toward that person who has those similar types of energy patterns. In order to fully and permanently clear away those types of entities, to break free of those attachments, it's important to heal those issues that we carry within ourselves. So if we have unhealed trauma from our past, if we have psychological distress that we're going through, if we have addictive patterns, especially involving alcohol or drugs, then we really need to work on healing those particular issues if we wish to no longer be bothered or plagued by entity attachments, by those external influences that have seemed to be causing us some difficulties or troubles. To work on these issues, we may need to do some shadow healing, some accessing of past memories and releasing or resolving the trauma that we experienced at those times. We may need to work on mindfulness and meditation to be more fully present in the present, to have all of our energy in the here and now, where our physical body is focused, so that we're able to deal with whatever is present in our life and in our environment. Different forms of energy healing, working with our breath, with sound, with Reiki and other forms of hands-on energy healing, can help clear and shift energy patterns that we have in our aura that can help balance and clear our chakras. And those can be useful ways to help us break free of unhealthy attachments. Also doing spiritual development, spiritual study, expanding our consciousness essentially, so that we can access a higher perspective, a deeper and greater level of understanding of ourselves, of our life, of who we are, that will empower you to no longer be at the mercy of those external influences that may try to in some way attach to you or manipulate you at your disadvantage. So by becoming more conscious, more spiritually aware and mature, our energy becomes more strong, more cohesive, more whole and empowered. For any of you that have had any challenges or difficulties pertaining to entities, to attachments and possession, I encourage you to consider these different approaches to working on healing those concerns. Whether someone is fully possessed or not by some external spirit or entity is kind of a matter of perspective. If we take the perspective that we have sovereignty over ourselves, and we can allow or not allow other things around us to attach to us or affect us, then a person isn't ever really possessed by another being. They're in some way inviting or allowing that seeming apparent form of possession to occur. But if they were claiming their own power, they were accessing their true ability to be sovereign over oneself, then that person could in an instant clear out that other entity. If we take the perspective that we are influenced, that we are affected by other energies around us that may have a stronger will, a stronger field of consciousness than our own present state of consciousness, then we might use that semantics to say that a person is possessed, since that other consciousness at that moment is operating in a more powerful and a stronger way than that individual who is in a weak state. Thus, if we want to change that situation, then we wish to strengthen and empower the individual who is being affected, to give them the power to break free, to no longer draw into themselves those other harmful energies, those seemingly negative attachments. This seems in some ways to be a complex issue, but if we look at it metaphysically, then it's easier to understand, and that gives us the ability to take constructive or productive steps and actions toward resolving those issues. I appreciate each of you for taking your time to explore this subject, to learn more about yourself, about spirituality, about energies, about healing. For those who would like to explore these topics further, I invite you to visit my website at www.phinsights.com. You may also find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Jedi Holistic Healing. For now, I would like to wish everyone a wonderful day. Namaste.